Hey, good morning and welcome to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 927themix.com. I'm Bill Dixon. Coach Roger Brady with us, as well as Coach John Everingham of the Wawasee Warriors. Coach, thanks for joining us here on Coach's Corner.
Yep, glad to be here. Ready to talk some basketball.
A lot of basketball since last we were in these seats. The games that were furthest away, the one at Manchester and the one at Northridge, maybe rehash the Manchester game a little bit first.
Yeah, it was an afternoon game. I know you guys couldn't make it. We had the girls sectional final, which, by the way, was some pretty exciting basketball. That girls sectional.
All 5 games were really good.
Yeah, and I think the one thing about the girls sectional that we might talk about later today even is, our upcoming sectional and how even the teams are in our sectional. I think you saw in the girls sectional that I think, all the games were really, really tight. Some of them even came down to the last second shot. I think Coach Kyle's daughter hit a 3 from the wing.
Well, we had overtime for one of them.
Yeah, so Wawasee certainly had their chances, against Northwood, but didn't work out. But anyway, yeah, so we traveled to Manchester and played a good Manchester team. And they have a guard, I can't remember his name right now, and I should. But, he's a kid, number 3, that has just tore us up for like 4 years. He's been playing varsity for 4 years, probably 5'10". He just kind of like last night. I know we'll talk about Goshen a little bit last night, but he got to the paint, and we really had trouble kind of containing him and creating opportunities for everybody else. So recently we've struggled a little bit, guarding, the point guard position. But in the second half, of that game, we actually switched Keaton Dukes onto him, and he did a fine job. And so I think it's really late in the season to be saying this, but we're learning about, who can guard who and who's taking on the challenge. And I didn't think we played poorly against Manchester, but it just wasn't enough against a good team on the road, afternoon game. And we talked, I think, in the morning show last week about, whether or not we thought
afternoon games were a problem.
Yeah, and it seemed like it probably wouldn't be because of, the lack of fans anyway, and so there's really nobody in that gym. It was just kind of hard game to get up for, and we came out just a little bit flat, and in the beginning of the game, and then again in the third quarter, and just didn't quite, again we shot 35% I think from 2-point range and 26% from 2-point range, and it was just one of those days where we just couldn't quite put it together. But we had a good attitude. We played hard, kind of like what we do, and just wasn't our day against Manchester.
So tried to make it through that Manchester game, came out a little bit on the short side there and ran into the buzzsaw from Middlebury, that is Northridge.
I think it's a little more interesting to talk about, the Northridge game, because we had some time to prepare for them, leading up to, the Manchester game. We really lost a day of practice. Thursday, the snow hit, and the Northridge game got canceled, but we were ready to play them on Thursday. And, we had a game plan in place, and then we obviously didn't play on Thursday. Now we got to kind of switch gears and try to get ready for Manchester. And then it kind of threw us off. We're playing a Monday game with obviously no practice on Sunday. And so how we're trying to communicate with players like, okay, remember when, last week, Tuesday and Wednesday, we spent 2 days on Northridge and in the game plan and really trying to work on our positioning against their press and against their zones and things like that. And I was really proud of our guys on how we positioned ourselves against them. And I think even in the interview before the game, I basically said we're going to try to fight fire with fire, and I felt like that gave us the best chance to win against them if we, launched up some threes, from the corner spot. You saw some guys that you don't normally see shooting. Mark Wiggs was one that came in, and he's certainly capable of knocking down some shots. Jay Finlinson played for a little while in that game, but we shot 26 threes against Northridge. And so, it's debatable, the game plan and how you attack Northridge and what you do. But we thought we'd take a chance. We'd take a shot at it. Let's just fight fire with fire. And to match, I think they shot 26 threes. We shot 26 threes, and neither team shot the ball real well. But obviously, if we'd knocked down a few more shots, that game could have got really, really interesting.
Coach Brady, you were at that game. I had a township meeting that night, unfortunately, but you called that game with Vice Principal Snyder. What were your thoughts on the game?
Well, we knew coming in, the reputation of Northridge. And so our question was, how does Wawasee combat their strength? And just like the Goshen game, you played them even except for the first 8 minutes. And and those are things I think that you can take back to your kids and say, look at this, and this. This is the one area we didn't do well, but look how our game plan worked. And then they can see what we're doing is working. Do you get a sense from the players that they're behind everything that you do in those situations?
Yeah, no question. And we're working towards 32 minutes of good basketball. I think, again, you mentioned it. We played not 32 minutes last night, against Goshen of good basketball, but enough to really give you a sneak peek of what we could do if we put it all together. And so, Northridge, they come out. We were down 19-2 after the first quarter, and you just can't do that against any team, let alone a good basketball team like Northridge. And so, but we hung in there. We've had opportunities all season long. We could probably talk an hour about this, about dealing with adversity and being, having bad things happen to you on the floor, through stretches of the games. And I was really proud of our guys. 19-2, I don't think you would have noticed that we were down 19-2 if you just had a camera on all of our guys. We stayed very poised. And again, we'll talk about Elkhart Christian being down in that game, being down against Northridge 19-2, and then play them basically even the rest of the game. And early on in that Northridge game, we got the exact shots that we were looking for, and we just didn't knock them down, And so, maybe, you could talk about getting better shots and getting different shots, but that was kind of our game plan. I sold the guys on a game plan. We're going to try to fire away, maybe shoot a few more threes than we're accustomed to, but to beat this particular team, I thought we had to score some points from the three-point line, and we ended up hitting 5 of 26. And again, it's easy to kind of sit back and be an armchair guy and say, well, if we make 7 more, even 12 for 26, so that's 21 points, things would have obviously looked a little different. And then you kind of, when you're the underdog going in a game like that, you kind of put the pressure on the other team, like, oh, we're supposed to be beating these guys by 20, and they're hanging around. And so that was kind of the idea against Northridge. And I think you're right. The guys obviously, I think, are buying into the game plans and what we're trying to do. We're trying to add, just a couple little wrinkles here late in the season. And I think we did that last night. We did a little bit against Elkhart Christian. And so, just really proud of our guys and how they kind of responded to adversity against Northridge.
Could you answer, and this is a question I think that maybe a lot of fans wonder about, because you don't get into the mindset of a coach. When you have this game plan, at what time do you as a coach look and say, this isn't working, we've got to make a change? Because that is a dilemma, because you've worked in this the whole whatever days that you have, and now all of a sudden, when do you make that switch? And a follow-up question on how much easier is it for your players to make the changes you want to play for sectional time because they're willing to buy into what you did before?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. And so I'm probably pretty stubborn as a coach in terms of what I believe gives us the best chance to win. And I try to stick with it as long as I possibly can, because you put in so much work. You're right. People don't quite understand the hours that you watch film. And we've had games this year where what we call as a perimeter black. We're playing the percentages and we had trouble. You can see if you really dig into what we were doing and what we're doing now is, before we're not guarding one person on the floor because we had trouble containing penetration. We had trouble keeping people out of the paint. So we literally try to play the percentages, and maybe we don't guard one guy from the outside. We keep one guy in the paint to help contain, penetration and keep one guy in a safety zone, but then what happens when you do that is, you're giving somebody a wide open shot from the outside, and they hit a couple, and everybody that's watching the game is saying, you got to guard that guy. Why are we not guarding that guy? Well, you're playing the percentages, and you put in so much time and work into thinking, okay, well, we're kind of picking our poison here. And if a guy that's shooting 20%, Warsaw was a game where we did that early on, where they had a guy hit a couple threes, and we just, probably being a little stubborn, we stayed with the game plan and tried to play the percentages. And so what we're doing now is we found somebody that we believe can keep somebody out of the paint in Keaton Dukes, and we got some other guys on the team that aren't very tall, and we have trouble keeping them out of the paint. And when they do get into the paint, even Bechtel last night, took Ethan Carey down into the paint area and just shot right over him. So, there is a dilemma. There's a game plan, and I'm very fortunate because I have some really good assistant coaches that we bounce ideas off of each other all the time. And I will tell you this too, a little inside information is we don't instill game plans unless the coaches agree, like, all in. And so if we have a coach, Nate O'Connell and Chad Hoffert, and if we're going over game plans and if somebody's not buying into it, then we talk it out and switch and try to figure out something that we all agree on and that we're all going to take to the guys in order to, try to give us the best chance to stay with the team or best chance to win. So yeah, that's a good question. Excuse me. I'll be honest. I probably don't switch very much the game plans. I stick with it and really try to play the percentages. And I think if you get into kind of second guessing yourself in the game as a coach, then you look back and you think, we should have just stayed with what we thought was going to work. And so I feel like if you make decisions before the game, those are things you can live with afterwards if you don't come out on the winning edge. And so, and then selling it to the guys too, if they think, if the team says, hey coach, what happened to the game plan? You spent all this time selling us on a game plan, then you switch the next game. They might think, well, how long is it going to be before you change your mind? So anyway, I'm pretty stubborn when it comes to that.
Well,
stuff.
the thing about percentages and playing a percentage game plan is that let's say you do leave that kid who's 1 out of 5, who's 20% out on the perimeter. That means on any one shot, he has a 20% chance. That may be the first shot he takes. That may be the last shot he takes. That could be the shot in the middle. So he comes down and hits a pair of hits a pair of threes. You look like the GOAT. But then he comes down and misses the next 8, and you look great. Yeah. Well, you didn't want to change just because he hit the first 2. He just happened to, those are the 2 out of his 20% that he happened to get.
It's everybody does it, right? You go to a basketball game and you got your popcorn and you're going, why are we doing this?
But there's no game that's as streaky as basketball. Yeah. Kids get hot for 3 or 4 minutes and then they're not hot anymore. It's the nature of the beast.
It is. It is exactly what you said. It's the nature of the beast, and it is. It's the cool thing about Indiana high school basketball, in my opinion, because on any given night, when we go into sectional play, we don't have to beat whoever we draw 9 out of 10 or whatever. It's not a game of 7. Where like the NBA, you got to beat them one night. Yep. And so even I've been associated with teams that pulled off massive upsets in sectional play. We've been in the sectional finals, the last 2 years, and so anything can happen on any given night. And like, for example, you go back to that Warsaw game, they're coming into the game shooting 21% from 3, and they hit like 13 out of 14 in a row. It just was their night, and the numbers didn't work out, and you tip your cap and you move on to the next game. So, obviously it is what it is, and anyway.
We'll come back and talk about Elkhart Christian in just a moment here on Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome back to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Talking to the head basketball coach of the Wawasee Warriors, Coach John Everingham. So, Coach, you moved out from Manchester and Northridge, returned home, and now then we're going to take on Elkhart Christian. Elkhart Christian looked an awful lot like Northridge.
Yeah,
maybe not the horses, but their style and what they brought to the table seemed real similar.
Yeah, they had some guys that shot some deep threes, and made them, and without even blinking an eye, and so there's probably people that will look at their schedule and look at their name and what class they are, but they're a good basketball team, and it's very, very dangerous what I did, because we had talked all season about development and, this isn't a must-win for us. Sure, it'd be nice if we did, but, just let's get better and all the coaching, speak that you do throughout the season. But this was one that I had been telling them all year, we'll have games that you got to win, of course, in the sectional, right? And I put a lot of pressure on our guys going into that Elkhart Christian game, again, with no practice to get ready for them, because we played the night before in Northridge. But after the Northridge game, we didn't even talk about the Northridge game after the game. We were like, okay, well, we have a game tomorrow. And I said it out loud. This is a must-win game for us. And it's not like we're going and playing Sister Mary Applesauce. This was a real basketball team that we were playing. And we had already planned out exactly what we wanted to, tell the guys after the Northridge game, win or lose. And it was getting them to understand that Elkhart Christian was a good basketball team. They beat Bremen by 18, and they scored 60 points on Mishawaka. They averaged 63 points a game.
Yeah, they want to run it up and down the floor. There's no question about it, and they're definitely a guard-led operation.
Their Sagarin rankings were similar to ours. Like, we went through all these bullet points. Like, look, I'm pushing all the chips in the middle, and this isn't like a game that we're not, blowing smoke at you. It's real. This is two even teams that are going to be playing tomorrow, and we have to come out victorious. It's putting a lot of pressure on our team, and the reason I did that is just I thought it would input just a little bit of energy to see what our team was made of in terms of, okay, we played Saturday afternoon. We didn't practice Sunday. We play a tough NLC game on Monday, and then Tuesday, an Elkhart Christian team that's very similar to us. And so it was I remember thinking in the fourth quarter when we're down 6, like, what was I doing? Like, what was I thinking? Like, that's the dumbest coaching move in the history of coaching, to put that much pressure on kids. And I think the reason I did it, I wanted to see what we're made of in a game that is evenly matched. The other thing we talked about is we felt like in the sectionals, there's going to be a lot of evenly matched games that it's going to be do or die, and so we still had a couple weeks in our season. So if we don't win that Elkhart Christian game, maybe we can recover from that. But if we do win in a pressure-packed situation, first time, whatever, second game, we've seen the student section and the pep band and maybe a little more buzz in the gym like there will be in sectionals, with the coach telling you we have to win tonight. Then you get us into the fourth quarter and we're down 6, and the pressure even mounts just a little bit more. And so I thought it was a really good sign that we came back and won that game, because it was in jeopardy. We really had to start pressuring them, in the full court. They turned the ball over. We knocked down some pressure free throws, and then we got defensive stops down the stretch when we absolutely had to. So I was really proud of our guys, and that was a big win for us.
And this leads me into the psychology of coaching, which means as a head coach, you have to know when to push, when not to push. You have to know each individual player and what you can and can't do. And I don't know if there's a real answer for this question, but how do you know as a head coach when to make those tough decisions? Because, you're still second guessing yourself. It turned out okay.
Yeah.
But even if it didn't, would it have been a good move on your part? How do coaches do that?
Well, it's very, very difficult because you have to do it at some point. And so you're strategically choosing when to do it, and so last night, for example, and I know we'll talk about it a little bit, but it wasn't the night to do that. I felt like after I put the pressure on our team, I really put my thumb on them, and to kind of see what they're made of. We've established ourselves. If we go 0-4 or 0-5 to finish out the season, when we go into sectional play, there's nobody in that sectional. They're all going to be saying the same thing. Okay, records are 0-0, and it doesn't matter. They beat Lakeland, they beat West Noble, and they played us tough, and all this. It will not matter. Our record will not matter. What matters is, the coach, the coaching staff, really understanding what's going to make our team tick. And so, now we're in a position where we've kind of pulled back the reins just a little bit. We've established some intangibles. I think every time we hit the floor, we're playing hard, we're buying into the game plan, and we're doing exactly what the coach wants us to do. And so I think those things are in place. Like, we've established ourselves as a player in the game. Like, we've made it to the final table, right? Mm-hmm. And so now it's just about, okay, can we forget about a record? Can we just forget that there is a record and say, okay, over the next 4 or 5 games, can we add something, just something that might get us over the top in a sectional game? And on top of that, too, you have to be very careful when you do stuff like I did on Tuesday, because in 13 years, I've had 1 or 2 teams that you lose the locker room. You kind of lose the trust of players. And so it is more dangerous than people would think. Yeah. Because when you lose the locker room, you got zero chance. You got zero chance. The only thing really you can do is just be an encourager. But you're just not going to get the buy-in that you need to win a sectional game or win a sectional championship. And so, the risk is that you lose the locker room. And I can tell you that we got such great kids that I wasn't overly concerned about that. But if you win that game, it definitely cranks it up just a little bit. It definitely is like, okay, yeah, we got this now. We got this. So now you shift gears, and we presented them with a presentation on our final 5. So the final 5 games, the final 5 game plan. We wouldn't have been able to instill the final 5 game plan if we would have lost that Elkhart Christian. It would have been like, whoa, okay, reset. How are we going to recover, from that, and probably made another game a must-win game type thing. So anyway, you're right. Lots of psychology going on, and we're working with teenagers, right?
Well, and that was my next question, Bill, is what does it feel like to have your career hinging on the decisions of 16, 17, and 18-year-olds? And the other question is, how does that work at home for you? Yeah. Because you're taking this stress home with you. And I know you have a basketball family. I know you have a wife that understands all this. But at the same time, most people don't have to deal with this kind of a stress or this kind of a anxiety level. How do you deal with that?
Well, I got a couple. How much time do we have here? Those are good questions, man. Good job, Roger. I think, here's the thing. I signed up for it. We all signed. Those of us who coach, we know what we're getting into. And, here's the cool thing. I love it. Because you think about the pressures of teenagers in general, and you think about working with young people and the things that they don't really understand what they're going to encounter later on in life. And you think, even if we would have failed, how do you pick yourself up after you don't get the job done? And how do you move forward when you're facing adversity? How do you handle successes, and winning and not getting too big of a head? And, so those are things that, yes, our livelihood as a coach, hinges on, decisions that teenagers are making out in front of everybody, out in front of the world. Exactly. Their world is our community, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think it's such a cool platform to teach the ultimate life lessons. And I know you worked with and for, Kem Zolman, who was the best in the business, and I've spent, when he was still around this area, spent a lot of time just calling him up, calling him down to my office. And as I've done every stop that I've made, had a mentor that's really instilled in me that there's a much bigger picture out there than just winning or losing a basketball game. And that's the time that you get to spend with, the kids in the locker room and really, really kind of talking to them. And as a coach, you never know what sticks. It's like a kid comes up 10 years later and, Coach, remember when you said this? And that really stuck with me. And so I think it's one of the greatest reward professions that you can have. Inside of education, think about this. As a teacher, you see a kid, maybe a trimester, like 1 hour a day for how many ever days, 60 days. But basketball, I'm telling you, in some other sports, I'm sure too, but basketball especially feels like it's a year-round thing. The relationships that you develop with these kids are lifelong, relationships. So yeah, there is a little anxiety in putting trust and faith in teenagers to go out and carry out a game plan and all that stuff. But there's a much bigger picture to that. And so, your second question was going home. It's funny. This is meant to be funny, but I answer to my assistant coaches, right, in the coach's office, and I usually do a pretty good job of saying, "It's okay, guys. Why'd you call timeout here? Here's what I was thinking." But the person I have to answer to at home tends to grill me just a little bit more than my assistant coaches. So she is always interested in why we did this. And my boys are getting old enough. They're waiting for me at home, wanting to watch the game film. And so it's kind of cool for them to see what it's like for a coach to really study the game. And so I catch myself talking to them almost like assistant coaches. And so you're right, we are a basketball family at home, and everybody's kind of involved. And so I answer a lot of questions at home too about who's playing and who's not playing and what style we're playing and all that stuff. So in all honesty, I thoroughly enjoy it. I really do. I look forward to going home and talking through, whether it be with my wife, my kids, calling my dad and things like that. Sure, so I enjoy it.
Excellent. So we come off the win at Elkhart Christian, here versus Elkhart Christian, and last night at Goshen High School against the Red Hawks. Looked good in the first half. In the second half, maybe not so much.
Well, there was somebody that had something to do with that. So, Jeff, what is wrong with me today with names?
Hogan.
Drew Hogan.
Yeah.
Here's a little funny side note here, too. When I was at DeKalb, I got a phone call from Tom Skimhorn, the AD at West Noble. And, Tom's got a sophomore group that's fairly solid, and they were fifth graders at the time. And so I had 2 third-grade twins, and there was a 3rd through 6th grade league. And I said, Tom, I got 3rd graders. Are you serious? He said, let's go play 6 games. And so I said, okay, well, who else are we going to get? He goes, well, Coach Bechtel pretty well. Yeah, I do. And what about Coach Hill? I said, yeah, I can probably give them a call. Our team was Drew Hogan, Deacon Hill, Quinn Bechtel, Skimmelhorn, and the Ferris kid from West Noble, and my 2 boys. And so it's kind of neat. You don't want to get too caught up in it, but watching those 3 for Goshen, kids that I coached when they were really young, Deacon, Quinn, and Drew, come up through and have the successes that they're having at the high school level. Certainly, as I follow them through their careers, it's kind of neat to watch them. And I really didn't like them kicking my butt last night, but we had some moments where we smiled at each other and things like that. So Drew Hogan obviously is an NLC All-Conference guy. He scored the most points that any sophomore has ever scored in the history of Goshen basketball. And so he's a legit high school basketball player. And we held him to 5 points in the first half. I literally was at halftime going, oh, boy. Because I just know he's coming. He's not going to go down like that. And so he scored 14 straight points in that third quarter, fourth quarter, early fourth quarter, and just took over. And we had no answer. We put in Adam Beer. We got into foul trouble. Keaton got in foul trouble. Welty got in foul trouble. We had to insert Beer. Again, we talked off air about, you insert one guy that maybe has some struggle scoring the basketball. You take your scorer out of the game for defense. There was a lot of chess match going on there sometimes you get beat by a better team, you get beat by a better player, you tip your cap, and you move on to the next one.
Yeah, well, we talked about when it started out. We said, okay, first 3 minutes of any second half tells you how it's going to go. And then we looked at those first 3 minutes and went, okay, well, now let's see what we can do in the next 3 minutes. So
it was the response that we were looking for, all of us. We were going, okay, Warriors, how are you going to respond to this little run?
Right.
And I honestly, I didn't think we responded well in the moment, but I went back and watched film last night, and I think we had a 37-33 lead even after they come out in a wave. We found a way to hang in there. I think Colin hit a three to really kind of keep it. We were still ahead in that game, probably the middle of the third, and then they just kind of took over and wiped us out.
When we come back, we're going to talk to one of the upcoming stars in the Wawasee basketball program. Had a big night last night, Caden Welty. Coming up next, you're on Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome back to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Talking now to Caden Welty, who's up and comer on the Wawasee Warrior varsity basketball program. Caden, welcome to Coach's Corner. Scoot up there a little bit if you would. There you go.
Hello, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate you being here tonight. Tell us a little bit about you and your basketball background. How long have you been in the Warrior basketball program? And talk about your trip through it so far.
My trip through the program has started when I was about, I think, 7 or 8 years old. I started going through the Junior Warriors and just basically playing with the same people I've been playing with that I am playing with right now. And basically our chemistry is really good, and I feel really great about everything. And I just love the program, and I think it's heading in the right path.
For those that aren't familiar with the Junior Warrior program, can you tell us a little bit about what those very young Warriors are doing out there? What is it that the coaches are trying to teach them at that point?
We're just really trying to teach them how the program works, and basically trying to get them ready for the next level. And if that means going from middle school to high school, or elementary from middle school, and just basically preparing them to get better in those situations and that type of thing.
So it's very much based upon what that age group should be able to do at that point, or is it more individualized?
I think it's more both.
Okay.
It really definitely works on getting each individual to a certain point where they need to be, and just getting them better and making the entire team and entire program
so
better.
Each individual in their own role, but then for them to see that it takes all of those roles to make a team.
Yes.
I see. Very good. Coach Brady?
Yeah, you've had a kind of a rough stretch here the last 3 or 4 games. I thought you guys have played extremely hard. And one thing I really like to compliment you on is your level of play and your ability, defensively, and especially in the last game, just to pick things up offensively. But I guess my question is, as you go back in the locker room and you guys are struggling with things, you lost against Goshen, you had a big loss against Northridge, you played hard, you came out with a great win against Elkhart Christian. What is the climate in the locker room? How are the guys ready to go on with the rest of the season?
The entire team is definitely very positive, and we definitely really want to get a sectional win this year. And everyone's head's in the right place. And if we just keep on working hard and work on things that we're good at, and I think that we can definitely pull it off this year. And
what is the relationship between the team as a whole and the coaching staff?
The relationship with the team, everyone gets along. We're all friends. We hang out outside of school, and it's definitely fun. I love all the guys.
Good. How about the coaching staff? What's the communication level, relationship with coaches? Do you feel comfortable with coaches? I don't want you to tell any secrets here, but it's like coaches come in. Guys are really into, let's do this. What's that all? How does that all fit together?
Oh yeah, the coaches definitely help us out a lot. I think everyone's definitely really comfortable with the coaches, And whenever we do something wrong, they don't really yell at us. They just try to help us figure things out, and they help us get better.
Okay.
Hey, Caden, you've been, along with all your time in the classroom and now time on the floor with all the practices, then you've been going and doing a lot of extra lifting
Oh, yeah.
after practice. Why do you do that? And why are you doing it now as we get ready to go into tournament play? It seems to me like you'd be tapering that kind of stuff back. But you're doing it now. Tell me why.
Because I want to get better.
Okay?
I want to get stronger. I want to get faster. And I want to improve my skills on the court. And just overall, I love lifting.
So this is a long-term project for you. This is
Oh, yeah.
something where you see improvements coming down the road.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Talk about your work in the classroom. What do you enjoy studying? What are your plans after school? That kind of thing.
What do I enjoy studying? That's a very good question. I like history. History is definitely one of my favorite subjects, and I just like learning about it, and just I think knowing your history is just a good thing. And also, what was your other question, by the way?
Well, what are you thinking about down the road? You know, you've got another year of this. What are you thinking after school? Or have you started to formulate any plans for what you're going to do after you get done here at Wawasee High School?
Boy, my mind is just everywhere, just over what I want to do after high school. I've definitely thought about going to college. I've thought about opening up my own business.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Just with car detailing.
Okay.
With one of my buddies. And we were going to try to work on that in the summer and try to build that up and just see where things go.
Very good.
So it'll definitely be fun, and I'm definitely going to learn a lot.
If you go to college, would you want to pursue your basketball or golf career?
Ooh. I love basketball. I don't see myself doing it at the next level. But I would definitely, if I did have the opportunity, I definitely think I would.
Okay. You play golf for the Warriors as well as playing basketball. Talk about what each of those brings to the other. What basketball brings to golf and what golf brings to basketball for you.
Oh, basketball definitely teaches me a lot of patience. And in golf, you do need patience because if you get ahead of yourself, you make one wrong swing and you're going to be in a rough patch for the next couple holes.
Yeah.
And you really just got to forget about if you did make a bad swing or hit, you just really got to put it aside and worry about the next shot. And I definitely think that basketball has taught me to be more patient and just forget about what you did wrong and work on what you have to do to get better.
Very good.
You know, Bill, that's a great skill, especially coming from an athlete in that you have to have a short memory.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you screwed up, so what? That means you're not going to do it the next time? No, you got to go back into it. That's a great insight.
So you're on the varsity now. You were leading scorer last night. Wasn't that long ago? You were down on the JV. Talk about that trip that you've now taken from heading down to JV, now all the way back up at the top end of the varsity program. That's got to have taught some important life lessons for you.
Oh, yeah. It definitely taught me to just hang in there and trust Coach, and he definitely knows what he's talking about, and I definitely wasn't in the right place, and I definitely need to get better, and I think I'm doing that right now, and JV definitely helped me figure those things out, and really I'm just trying to help out the team as much as I can, and basically, yeah.
What is your role with it? What do you see as your role with the team? And by that, I don't mean, well, I bring the ball up and I shoot some and I play good hard defense. What's your role in that locker room? What's your role with the team in keeping that team together as one?
I think my role overall is maybe not one of the leaders, but I think I could definitely be one of the leaders. And
Sort of like maybe a leader in training?
yes,
Yeah,
basically.
okay.
And next year I'll definitely have to step up, but definitely my role on the team is to keep people positive and make sure that everyone's in the right spot at the right time, and basically distribute the ball, find the open man, take a couple shots every game, play good defense, and yeah, that's it, really.
Who's the leader in that locker room for you? Who's the one guy, if you had to say one guy, who could take you by the jersey and say, hey, we got to get this thing straightened out? Who is that guy for you?
Cam Salazar.
We hear that a lot.
Oh, yeah. He knows what he's talking about. He definitely has a big influence on a lot of people in that locker room, and he definitely gets my attention a lot. And he's just a smart player, you know. He just makes smart decisions. He's played varsity for 3 years, and he just definitely knows what he's doing, and he knows what to do in situations, and we need that.
He is. You would never know that when you see him play.
Oh yeah.
So everything he does, which I think is a mark of a really good leader, is that he does that with you and with the team, and he doesn't show that out front. The only other question I have is, as you were going through your struggles this year, how did your teammates help you through that?
My teammates definitely helped me out a lot, just with keeping me positive. And there was times where I'd get down on myself, I'll admit that, but they were definitely there. They were right there to be right by my side and make sure everything was okay, and they just really helped me through it. And it was everyone. It wasn't just a couple people on the team. It was everyone, whether if that was making me laugh or telling me something that was, goofy or whatever, and basically just really helping me out.
So as a group, how would you rate this year's closeness with maybe the last couple years you've been in the program?
If I had to rate it, I'd give it a 9. And compared to last year we there was a little bit of a hiccup just with I want to say like just the team in general. There was a hiccup with the team, and by sectionals last year we had to definitely figure that out. And I think this year our team is definitely the chemistry is definitely there, and everyone really loves each other.
And that makes it easier to do what you do on the floor.
Oh, yes.
Excellent. Very good.
Caden, want to wish you luck as the Wawasee Warriors head into action this week. And, of course, sectional play, that's front and center for you guys as you're getting ready to play at the Wawasee sectional and host that. Congratulations, and thanks for being with us today.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Want to wish good luck to the Wawasee Warrior freshman basketball team today. They have made it to the championship round of the Northern Lakes Conference Tournament, and they will be playing Warsaw today in that championship round. This has been Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Back with Coach John Everingham's final thoughts in just a moment. And welcome back to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Bill Dixon and Coach Roger Brady, along with head basketball coach of the Wawasee Warriors, Coach John Everingham. Coach, I want to thank you for inviting Caden Welty in to be with us today. What a special young man you've got as part of your basketball program there, and what a tale of growth he has provided for this team.
Yeah, I know I asked him to come on the radio, and I think every player that I asked to do the radio, they all go, no way. It's like, you remember in high school when you had to give a speech in front of people? It's like, no. So I think all of our guys that have come in on the radio and have done a great job, and everybody kind of gets a taste for who these guys are, and they're all special in their own way, and really good kids. And you see it on the floor, and you listen to them talk, and just couldn't be more proud of Caden because It hasn't been perfect this year. He gets sent down to the JV, gets demoted down to the JV, and his first JV game, I think, was Central Noble, and had some struggles in that game, actually, even in the JV game. And so, man, it would have been so easy for him to just be like, oh, this is just not my thing. It's not working for me. And to see his growth from that game in the JV to, basically what he's done in the last 2 or 3 games.
He was leading scorer last night.
And last night was just I think it's just the tip of the iceberg with him, too. And I had talked to him just a little bit about, here I go again. This is just can't remember the names of players today. What is wrong with me? The guard from Stolfus from Northridge. But basically watching him on film and seeing how he plays, I know that the similarities are they're both left-handed, but really trying to instill in Caden that he can do it, and that he needs to play free and loose and not think a whole lot. We're playing basketball. You can see his ball handling skills. He doesn't think a whole lot when he's dribbling the ball because he's got good handles, and now starting to knock down some shots. And probably the thing that most people don't recognize from his game is his physical defensive play, and really putting him on the best or second best player on the other team. So he's knocking down shots, he's handling the ball, and becoming one of our better defenders. And so, very valuable late addition to our starting 5 and our top 7. I think it's going to be a really cool story when it's all said and done. And he's going to be able to talk to some of our younger players as they develop, have their struggles, right? And tell them, hang in there. Woo! I was right there where you were at. I totally get it. In a time when, honestly, when you're a teenager, you think, nobody else has ever gone through this.
Yeah, and everybody expects to take a straight road. You never expect there to be a bend in the road.
Yeah, nobody's ever gone through this. And why do I have to go through this, And so it happens to all of us, in athletics.
Well, I appreciate you bringing him by. We were glad to be able to talk to him. We've got 2 games upcoming this week. We'll start with the one on Tuesday night, where the Warriors will host the Warriors of Westview.
Westview Warriors, is that who we play this week? We played so many games. I woke
Eventually, you get colorblind, and they all look like a blur, right?
I know. Well, Westview is strong. We know that. I think they're 15-3 right now, and so. Coach Ed Bentley is a good friend of mine. Won 2 sectional championships out of 3 in the last 3 years at Angola, or maybe 4 years or whatever, but completely turned that program around. He didn't go into the Westview gig needing to turn anything around, right? Because they have talent. They have a wealth of talent there at Westview, and they've been playing really, really well. It's a little odd, seeing their scores. Sometimes they'll get up into the 50s and 60s, and other times, I think they played West Noble at a 36-32 game, So, we'll watch film, and we don't have school on Monday, so we'll be able to get a game plan in place and what we want to do.
Difficult to game plan that kind of a team, though, because unlike somebody like a Northridge, where you know what they're going to bring, or Elkhart Christian, where you know what they're going to bring, Westview could bring one of a couple or 3 different types of play toward you.
There's no question. And, when you're the best teams are, we'll play whatever style you want to play, we'll play. You want to play up-tempo, you want to play slow down, doesn't matter what you play, we're still going to, whoop you. Those are the best teams that can say that. They don't care what style it is. And so Westview's trending that direction. I think even – they lost to Central Noble. They've lost to their 3 losses have been to really good teams. So it's going to be quite a challenge for us to go and play against a good team on Tuesday. But I will tell you this. Going back to what I said, I think maybe in the first segment is we're past that. We're past that. We're way past that. It feels like that we're now thinking we have our eyes fixed on the sectional, and so we're completely. It's like the beginning of the season. You hear coaches say all the time, "We're just focused on ourselves right now." We're trying to get better and do it, whatever. It's like we're back to that where, okay, if we can just scrap the idea of the record, we certainly would like to get 1, 2, 3 more, but. I think the big goal is to be as good as we possibly can be by, in 2 weeks, when that sectional draw comes out next week and we'll find out who we're playing. Then we're going to be solely focused on one team, one win. And so Westview is a good team. They're going to help prepare us for our sectional play. look forward to playing them and against a good coach, a good team, and we'll play hard. We'll try to do the things that are going to get us prepared for the sectional. So.
I think there's a couple things maybe that you have that you didn't have before, and maybe you can speak to this as you're making your plans for sectional, because I know most coaches, they just want to throw a couple of wrinkles in because you've already played these people. Mm-hmm. Something maybe just a little different that can give you that 2, 3, 4, 5 point advantage. I know you have Mr. Welty, who has really done some really good things the last couple of games, and Mr. Robertson as well.
Yeah.
I call these kids Mr.
Yeah.
Anyway, I do that at class a lot.
Yeah.
But how has that helped in your making some of those wrinkles that some other teams really have? I mean, they're going to be able to look at your film.
Yep.
But some things that maybe they haven't seen out of you guys, it's going to be a little bit of a surprise.
Well, last night we went the first time all year we've run a certain style man-to-man half-court trap, and Goshen called. The first time we went to it, they called timeout. Mm-hmm. The second time and the third time we went to it, they turned the ball over for 4 straight points. And so you saw us last night in the full court run a little bit of run and jump, mm-hmm. and kind of seeing that our kids know what it is and they kind of know the general concepts, but that we really haven't put it into play, in a game situation. And so, if we get into a situation where we're ahead and we want to extend a lead, or if we're behind and we need to catch up, that's probably the wrinkle that this year's team is probably going to be able to actually execute. And I thought it was a really good sign last night. We successfully executed that. Even at the end of the game, if you've watched us over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, we've really struggled when we've gotten behind with about 2 or 3 minutes to go to pressure teams, mm-hmm. To trap and get turnovers and things like that. But we think this year's team, with our quickness, again, the addition of Caden as a guard, but, Carey, Salazar, and Beer, when we have that lineup in there, we think we might be able to trap and get a few turnovers here and there. The obvious question, the armchair quarterback would be like, well, if you can do it for 2, 3, 4, 5 possessions, why don't you do it for 20, 30? Why don't you do it the whole game, Coach?
Well, you don't, because you have kids that are human. That's why.
That's right, yeah.
It just doesn't work that way. The other thing I want to ask, and this is a personal goal of mine as I watch you guys end up this season, is how many actual charges can you take per game? I'm totally impressed. And I'll be honest with you, at the end, the one Keaton they had at the end,
that was a charge.
That was the best charge you took, and they called it against you. You should have had 3.
Yep.
But you got 6 charges in the last 2 games.
Yep.
To me, that's good feet position defense.
Yes, and good positioning, and guys willing to take a charge too.
Yes.
Keaton last year, I'll pick on him a little bit, but Keaton he'd be in position, and when he saw the person coming at him, he'd turn sideways.
Flinch, yeah.
And he kind of flinched, and he never got a charge call. And so those are things that you think it kind of looks easy when you see it happen, but it's very difficult to guard your man, mm-hmm. to be in good position, to help over, and then step up and be a man and take that charge is quite an accomplishment. For us to take that many, Ethan Carey's taken several on the ball. You can't be in a bad position and take a charge. It's impossible, and so
because it'll always be called against you.
Yeah, it'd be a block.
And I don't think a lot of people know that you actually have drills in practice that you practice that. It's why it works.
Yeah, absolutely. And we struggled with that. That's why we were playing our perimeter black. We're keeping one guy in the paint, because the one guy in the paint was Keaton Dukes, who is our best on-the-ball defender. So Keaton is also our best charge guy. And so we had to pick, we got our best charge guy's got to be the one inside the paint, taking charges. And we kind of installed that against Northwood. And then it's like, okay, guys, we have to guard 5 guys. Right. Our 5 guys got to guard their 5 guys, but our positioning has got to get better. And again, you think about the development of our team into where we were and where we're at. We're so much better at defensive positioning and our willingness to slide over help and take charges. Not only that, is the other rotations that happen. When somebody leaves their man, slides over to take a charge, that we have to have other rotations, what we call like a V-back, going in and then scrambling back out if they do make a pass. Exactly. And so there's a lot that goes into it, and it's very difficult to do. It's very difficult to teach. So you're asking guys to go out there, stay focused, think about the game plan, think about your rotations, think about all these things. You got so many thoughts going through your head, but when it becomes second nature, it tends to start to look easy. And that's when you got a
And
real
the one
good team.
comment you made on the other game, that one of your keys was emotional. When you take a charge, that is an emotional, electric charge for the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of like a team. We do have a couple guys that can dunk. We haven't got one this year, but it's kind of like the Indiana basketball version of getting a dunk in a game, because it's almost better than a block shot. A block shot goes out of bounds 50% of the time.
Yeah.
But a charge, you get the ball 100% of the time. And so that's something we'll continue to do. I think Salazar took a charge. Welty took a charge that they didn't call, but 100% was a charge.
Yeah.
Kerry took a charge. We took 3 last night, right?
Yeah, 2 last night, didn't you?
Yeah,
2.
I think Ethan Carey might have got a push off call.
He
But
might have.
anyway, but we've had several in the last 2-3 games where,
But even getting
been very
one a game is pretty normal.
Yeah.
But get 2 or 3 or 4, that's different. That means defense is doing something.
The other thing too, I'll add real quick, is it also discourages teams from going in there.
Yes.
If they know the defense position is solid and we start the game with a charge, they're thinking, well, that ain't going to work.
Yeah, that's it.
And so it really discourages them from going in the paint. I think we got a charge on Hogan, and it took him a while to kind of get back in the paint.
Yeah.
After we took that first charge on him, Salazar.
Well, as we wrap things up, we don't want to miss the fact that we've got girls swimming at the state tournament this morning. They are at the natatorium at IUPUI. And we've got boys wrestling over at East Chicago for the semi-state. We want to wish good luck to all those folks who are in tournament competition today. Your Wawasee Warrior basketball this coming week. Tuesday night, we'll be here at the Hardwood TP to take on the boys from Westview. And then on Friday night, back here at the Hardwood TP one more time to take on East Noble. This has been Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. WRWTLP, Syracuse.